It's live.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the live series on How to for Heroes. Heroes. The Ordinary Real Men is an initiative by Niyati N. Shah, an educator, a counselor. It's an online community for men focusing on four main pillars: self growth, relationship, health, care, and vision to foster joyful, prosperous, and united brotherhood. The sole intention is to build this community for men who are dedicated to make real changes in the quality of their lives. I, Roman, would welcome you today to talk about the real heroes of our amazing community. Ladies and gentlemen, here we welcome Rishi Nanda. Rishi is a spiritualist and a trainer who specializes in Indian epics. Rishi has taken more than 600 plus sessions across 50 plus cities for 125 plus clients, covering more than 18,000 plus participants for more than 25 plus industries. Rishi is a co-author of a book, Break Your Leadership Chakravyuh. In June 2020, Rishi represented Sanatan Dharam and India for a panel discussion at HWPL, South Korea. The panel discussion was for peace and unity. Was one of the five speakers, along with Major General G.D. Bakshi, to address a crowd of 1,000 plus at DISCON, which is a religious meeting for Rotary Club. Rishi was one of the four speakers at Masterclass Leadership Series, where the other speakers were legendary Mahesh Bhupati and Air Marshal Subhash Bhojwani. Welcome to Heroes, Rishi.
Thank you so much, Roman. Hi,
It's such
how
a
are you?
pleasure to talk to you.
Pleasure's all mine. And
All
thank you,
right.
Heroes and Niyati, for this opportunity. It's good to connect. Yeah,
Absolutely. So, shall we?
yeah, please, let's start.
All right. After killing 100 Kauravas, which is such a huge success, why is Bhim not as famous as Arjun?
So in the Mahabharata, what happens is there's a family war that takes place between two set of cousins. That's Kaurav and the Pandavas. And
Right.
if you see in India, Arjun is the entire glory, fame, success, everything went to Arjun. Even in India, there's an Arjun award which is very popular. There is a Bhim award also, but that's related to wrestling. So it's not that popular for a lot of us. But the fact is, when we take sessions on Mahabharata, and I check with people, name me one warrior in the main Mahabharata war, one warrior, great warrior, whom Arjun killed fairly. And everyone starts thinking, and they say Bhishma Pitama, but then for Bhishma Pitama, Shikhandi had to stand. Then someone would say Karna, but for Karna the kavach had to be removed, the wheel was stuck in the mud. And then someone would say Jayadratha, but for Jayadratha the sunset was done. So when you start actually thinking about it, there was not even without any chal kapat, Arjun did not kill any great warrior. Yes, they had a reason for doing it. So we are not getting into that angle. But all the 100 brothers were killed by Bhim single-handedly. He killed all of them. Okay. अब इसमें फिर भी लोगों को ना अगर देखो तो फिर भी फेम सब जाता है अर्जुन के पास. So I asked someone, obviously in a lot of my sessions I asked, why did this happen? After killing 100 Kauravas also, Bhim did not get the fame, glory, success, and which Arjun got. So one of the participants said, sir, it's very simple. He was close to MD. So it's like Lord Krishna. तो उन्हीं के पास जाना ही चाहिए था. So that's on a lighter note, obviously. But what happens is, there's a deeper meaning to it, so the entire Mahabharata so there were a couple of reasons because of which the war took place, but one of the main reason was Draupadi's Vastraharan. After this, the entire dynamics of Mahabharata changes, and then the Lakshya Graha had happened, and all those things. So for Bhim, the motivation was Draupadi, that Duryodhan and Dushasan tried to disrobe my wife. तुमने मेरे बीवी के वस्त्र हरण करने की कोशिश की, मैं तुम्हें मार दूंगा. And he takes a प्रतिज्ञा, and he says that मैं सब भाइयों को मार दूंगा. Now, if you look at the motivation of Bhim, entire Mahabharata was only revenge, and that was only for Draupadi. जैसे युद्ध में वो दुर्योधन को मारते तो उनका मोटिवेशन भी खत्म हो जाता, बिकॉज उनको जो करना था, जो गोल था या जो उनका टारगेट था, हो गया. Now comes to Arjun. Arjun before the war, Arjun before the war, puts down his weapons and says that I'm not interested to fight. And when Krishna is trying to motivate him, through his talks and through his pep talks and all, and Arjun says, "Ke मैं कृष्ण ये तीनों लोक को त्यागता हूँ, मैं यश त्यागता हूँ, मैं सब कुछ त्याग करता हूँ, मैं भीष्म पितामह को कैसे मारूं, मैं अपने गुरु द्रोणाचार्य को कैसे मारूं, मैं कृपाचार्य को कैसे मारूं, मेरे में आज भी वो जिगर है कि जो मैं इनको छोड़ माफ कर सकता हूँ, मेरे भाई दुर्योधन को मैं माफ कर सकता हूँ, एक हस्तिनापुर में एक लैंड के लिए हम लोग कैसे युद्ध कर सकते हैं, एक पीस ऑफ लैंड के लिए इतना बड़ा फाइट कैसे कर सकते हैं." सो देन भगवत गीता का ज्ञान देते हैं कृष्ण अर्जुन को. बट इफ यू लुक एट द एंटायर कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ व्हाट कृष्ण इज ट्राइंग टू एक्सप्लेन टू अर्जुन इज दैट इट इज नॉट ओनली अबाउट वन दुर्योधन राइट नाउ अर्जुन, इट इज नॉट अबाउट योर वाइफ ओनली द्रौपदी, इट इज अबाउट अ कॉन्टेक्स्ट सेटिंग राइट नाउ. The context setting is if the prince of Hastinapur, has the guts to try to disrobe the queen of Indraprasth in the palace of what do you call it, Hastinapur, and if you don't, fight for it, imagine this prince becoming the king of both Hastinapur and Indraprasth. What will happen to the girls in the kingdom? Second is also apart from that, if you do not fight right now, तो सदियों तक लोग है ना अपनी बीवी को यही कहेंगे, जब उनकी बीवी आके बोलेंगी देखो मुझे एक दुर्योधन जैसा कोई आदमी छेड़ रहा है, तो वो कहेंगे कि देखो अर्जुन ने कुछ नहीं किया तो मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ, अर्जुन ने कुछ नहीं किया तो मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ. एंड सो द कॉन्टेक्स्ट सेटिंग विल नॉट बी गुड. सो नाउ द वॉर इज नॉट ओनली अबाउट यू, योर वाइफ, योर फैमिली, योर किंगडम, योर एरा, इट इज बियॉन्ड, it is timeless now. So that is the reason when Arjun picks up the weapons and decides to fight. So if you look at the reason why Arjun actually fought the war was not only for a revenge for his wife, but it was for a context. So Muhammad. So there's this so the bigger the why, easier the how it becomes. But the fact is that if you believe in something which goes beyond you now, that is where you become a legend. Bhim ka motivation was personal. It was just for himself or his family. Arjun went beyond. Therefore, it's a context set for the entire humanity who followed him. So I think that is the reason.
That's the reason we have Arjuna over the rest of them.
Yes, that's what I feel.
Right. My second question is, though Arjuna was so successful with whatever in the history and with the backing of Lord Krishna, right? But he still never ever entered heaven alive.
Correct.
Unlike Yudhishthir. Why was that so?
So what happened is the best part is of the entire Mahabharata. I always check with people, Mahabharata किसकी कहानी है? तो कोई कहेगा कृष्ण, भगवान कृष्ण की है, कोई कहता है अर्जुन की है, दुर्योधन की है, and हर एक की है. So when I was a kid, Roman, my grandfather told me that if you want to understand Mahabharata, you'll have to read Mahabharata from everyone's perspective. Because everyone was right from their perspective and everyone could be wrong from other people's perspective. So there's no one who's 100% right. There's no one who's 100% wrong. It's just the perspective, and the perception of that person. So that is one. So now coming back to your question, why did I say that? So when I understood that, what my grandfather meant, I read a lot of books. And the one thing that fascinated me was, how can Yudhishthir enter heaven alive? जो आदमी अपनी बीवी को दांव पे लगा सकता है, वो आदमी को स्वर्ग में एंट्री कैसे मिली? Alive, that also in flesh and blood. And then I actually when I read it for the first time, I was like, ये क्या हो गया? मतलब मैं इतना भी खराब नहीं हूँ, मुझे भी एंट्री मिलनी चाहिए. But so that was my thought process. But then when I deep dived into the character of Yudhishthira, I realized one thing. So when they are going towards that walk towards the heaven, Draupadi dies, Sadev, Nakul, Arjun, Bhim, all of them had some vices. Someone was either arrogant, someone had no empathy, someone you had a superiority complex, someone was biased. Everyone had some of the other quality. But what happened with Yudhishthir? The story of Mahabharata is actually the story of Yudhishthir, as per me. It's the story actually of Yudhishthir. It is a victory of good over evil. That's internal. It's not of Kaurav versus Pandav. It's victory of good over evil. When the dice game happens, when Yudhishthir bets Draupadi also and loses his kingdom, his brothers and everything, the next day morning when he gets up, he realizes what a blunder he had done. What a blunder he did. So what he did, he took feedback from a lot of people. So in modern day terms, you can call it like a 360-degree feedback. He took it from his wife, he took it from his mother, he took it from his elders, he took it from his brothers, he took from everyone. Okay, please tell me, what am I supposed to do? What did I do wrong? What are my area of improvements? And then everyone started to give it to him. Now, in those exile of 12, 13 years that they went, Arjun went in search of Lord Shiva to get a Pashupatan arrow so that he can, defeat Karna. Bhim went in search of Lord Hanuman so that he can understand how to enhance his physical strength. Yudhishthir, and only Yudhishthir was the only person in entire both side of the families who went for an internal change. He realized that I need to change. I need to conquer the vices over me. I need to conquer my negativity. It is after those 13 years he had learned even dies from Chatrasen, who was at Indra Darbar का वहाँ पे. तो उनकी जितनी भी वीकनेस थी ना युधिष्ठिर की, उन्होंने वो 12 साल में ओवरकम की. And he had also absolute control over his senses. So it's a journey. See, we all do mistakes. So what happens is, but we need to understand how to rectify it. Now, from Yudhishthira, we have derived a model that we have used in our book also, Break Your Leadership Chakra, which is AIR, AIR, AIR model. So A stands for accept that yes, I can do a mistake. No one is perfect. First, that acceptance needs to be there. Then comes I, that is identify those mistakes. What were the mistakes that I did? That could be possible only when I start taking feedback. Then comes the R, that is rectify. Then we need to rectify those mistakes. That is exactly what Yudhishthira did. He accepted that yes, I did a mistake. He identified and he rectified. He never ever repeated those mistakes again. इसके लिए जब कृष्ण भगवान कहते हैं कि जब गुरु द्रोणाचार्य आएंगे युद्ध में और तुम्हें पूछेंगे अश्वत्थामा मर गया, तुम हाँ कह देना. वो कहता है मैं तीनों लोग को त्यागता हूँ, but अब मैं झूठ नहीं बोलूंगा. Because I know I've done so many mistakes in my life, I will not consider. हम इसके लिए उनको धर्मराज कहते हैं, हम उनको सत्यवादी नहीं कहते. वो धर्मराज है, बट वो समझ गए कि गलती हो गई है, उसको एक्सेप्ट करके रिपीट मत करो. And I'm sure all this, most of the successful people will always say, don't repeat your mistakes and you'll become successful. And I think Yudhishthir is the epitome of that. So that was one thing. And Arjun was also very arrogant. Just to give you a question about it, he does not enter heaven alive, because when he dies, भीम पूछते हैं युधिष्ठिर को कि अर्जुन क्यों नहीं पहुंचे. तो वो कहते हैं कि उनको एरोगेंस बहुत था अबाउट हिज अचीवमेंट, अबाउट हिज ग्लोरी, अबाउट हिज सक्सेस, दैट कृष्णा का क्लोज थे, वो सब थे. तो दैट इज द रीजन. सो दैट्स वन थिंग. या
Right. Very well said. All right. So my third question is again revolving around Pandavas only. As we talked about Arjuna and Bhima, what went wrong with Nakul and Sadev? I mean, they were also a part of Famous Five, weren't they?
Correct. So, and what happens? Unfortunately, a lot of people feel in a modern day term that they were like, sidekicks, but that is not the reason. That is genuinely not the reason. They were also brilliant warriors. They had also a lot of knowledge. In fact, says he could actually, his astrology knowledge was also brilliant. The war Mahabharata started on the day and time that Sahdev predicted, that Sahdev said. So what happens is, before the war, Duryodhan walks up to Sahdev and says कि मुझे ऐसा समय बताओ, ऐसा वक्त बताओ जो आपके लिए भी अच्छा, हमारे लिए भी अच्छा. We start on even, And Sahdev tells him that this is the time which I think would be good for both. And that is the time the war started. So Sahdev was also a chief counselor for Yudhishthira. Most of the decision that Yudhishthira took was after counseling Sahdev. And coming to Nakul was, a brilliant sword, sword fighter. कहा जाता है कि वो sword इतनी fast वो swing कर सकते थे, अगर बारिश में भी निकलेंगे वो swing ऐसे करेंगे sword, तो पानी की बूंद भी उनके ऊपर नहीं गिरती थी. इतने fast थे वो, इतने precise थे वो. But somewhere what happens, history is written by the winners, and Yudhishthira was the emperor, and somewhere the Yudhishthira, Arjun, and Bhim got the most of the glory. But it's important that when you're working in a team, especially, you need to know at times you have to take a step back also. So Nakul and Sadev also realized that Bhim and Arjun are far better warriors. So why do we run after glory that we do not deserve and they deserve? So let us work as a team and assist. Okay, so Nakul और Sadev का वो बहुत बड़ा contribution है जो लोगों को realize नहीं होता है. They were brilliant.
Finally, all thanks to this platform, at least people will know what was there, what went behind about Nakul and Sadev.
Correct.
So coming back to today's day and time, we did speak about history. What's happened today now is we all work so hard for money, right? But money doesn't come to all. What we can do is money follows us, but it's not that. We are chasing after money. Why is that so?
So, Roman, I'll have to, share a very short story from, our ancient Indian history, popularly called as Indian mythology. So, हमारे books में ना एक समुद्र मंथन हुआ था. Okay, समुद्र मंथन में क्या होता है कि there are devas and asuras, on two sides of the mountain, and there's a churning that takes place. Now, while the churning takes place, वासुकी snake जो लॉर्ड शिवा के नेक पे होता है, उनको यूज है, उनसे मदद मांगी गई थी और उनको चर्न कर रहे थे वो लोग. अब वहां पे काफी सारे आर्टिकल्स निकलते हैं, और एक आर्टिकल जो निकलता है वो होती है लक्ष्मी माता. अब जैसे लक्ष्मी माता निकलती है, तब सबको, देवास को और असुरास को लक्ष्मी चाहिए थी, और सब लक्ष्मी के पीछे भागना चालू करते. एवरीवन वांट्स लक्ष्मी, सो दे ऑल आर चेजिंग लक्ष्मी.
Right.
टिल दैट टाइम एवरीथिंग एम्बिगुअसली डिसाइड हो गया था, देवास क्या लेंगे, असुरास क्या लेंगे. देयर वाज नॉट मच फाइट और आर्गुमेंट बिटवीन देम, बट लक्ष्मी के पीछे आर्गुमेंट चालू होती है. लक्ष्मी माता भागती है दूर वहां से, और वो अब ये लक्ष्मी के पीछे भागते हैं. अब लक्ष्मी माता भागते भागते कहते हैं कि जो भी सृष्टि में रक्षा कर सकता है मेरी आके रक्षा करो. तब आते विष्णु भगवान. अब विष्णु भगवान को देख के सब देवास तो चले जाते हैं, असुरास भी कई सारे भाग जाते हैं. फिर कुछ असुरास होते हैं जो रुकते हैं, नहीं हमको लक्ष्मी चाहिए, तो विष्णु देवता उनसे बात करके उनको भेज देते हैं. देन सम असुरास स्टिल वांट, दे आर नॉट कन्विंस्ड, दे हैव अ फाइट विद विष्णु एंड विष्णु किल्स देम. नाउ लक्ष्मी माता इज टोटली इम्प्रेस्ड, हैंडसम, good, seems very popular, art of articulation is also good, great warrior. What does a girl want? उसके अलावा कुछ चाहिए ही नहीं है, सब कुछ है इनके पास. बट जैसे वो टर्न करते हैं तो विष्णु भगवान गायब हो जाते हैं. तो देवास और असुरा ताकि कहते तो विष्णु थे, वो आते काम करते चले जाते हैं. आप ज्यादा दिल मत लगाओ. बट नाउ स्टिल सेटलमेंट तो हुआ नहीं, लक्ष्मी किसके पास जाएगी, देवास के पास या असुरास के पास. तो अगले दिन उनका स्वयंवर ऑर्गेनाइज किया था लक्ष्मी माता का. सब देवास और असुरास लाइन में खड़े होते हैं. अब लक्ष्मी माता, स्वयंवर इज वेयर देयर वाज अ ट्रेडिशन सो दैट वेयर whomever the girl wants can put the garland into the neck of a man and the man उनका शादी करेंगे. तो वहां पे सब खड़े हो जाते हैं. अब लक्ष्मी माता ढूंढ रही है, विष्णु आए नहीं, एंड अंत में विष्णु भगवान भी आते. लक्ष्मी माता भागती है और वो फूलों का हार उनको पहनाती है. अब विष्णु भगवान उस वक्त पूछते हैं कि तुमने इतने सारे यहाँ पे योद्धा है, बड़े बड़े योद्धा है, हैंडसम किंग है, प्रिंस है, बड़े बड़े लोग हैं यहाँ पे, मुझ में ऐसा क्या देखा जो तुमने मुझसे शादी करने का सोचा. तो लक्ष्मी माता टेल्स दैट you were the only one who focused on the work without desiring me, therefore I surrender myself to you. और वो ये कह के ना लक्ष्मी माता उनके कदमों में गिरती है. तो आई एम श्योर अपने फोटो देखिएगा जहाँ पे विष्णु भगवान लेटे और लक्ष्मी माता उनके पैरों में है. तो इसके लिए हर अवतार में विष्णु भगवान आके कहते हैं कि कर्म कर, फल की चिंता मत कर. ही अंडरस्टैंड्स व्हाट इट इज, सो फोकस ऑन एक्सीलेंस एंड नॉट ऑन मनी. बिकॉज अगर हम पैसे के पीछे भागेंगे तो पैसा और हमको भगाएगा, बट हम काम के पीछे भागेंगे, एक्सीलेंस के पीछे भागेंगे, एंड देन मनी विल कम टू यू. एंड इफ यू लुक एट एनी इंटरव्यू ऑफ एनी सक्सेसफुल पर्सन ना, दे ऑल हैव मोस्टली वन पॉइंट इन कॉमन, focus on work, don't focus on money. And we feel तेरे पास पैसा है ना इसके लिए तो ऐसा बोलता है, but the fact is वो हमको actually secret बता रहा है कि चुपचाप काम पे ध्यान दो, ना कि आप पैसे पे ध्यान दो. So money is important, but it depends upon what you want, excellence or money. You want money, it will keep chasing. If you focus on excellence, money will become a byproduct, and that is where people become wealthy, and earn a lot of money. Just to take another point on this, I'll just elaborate on 30 seconds. तो इसमें क्या होता है, मंथन में ना बहुत एक अमेजिंग चीज होती है. एक आता है जहर. ओके, जहर निकलता है, वासुकी स्नेक इज गेटिंग रियली इरिटेटेड एंड वासुकी स्नेक स्पिट्स आउट द एंटायर पॉइजन. वो आके भोलेनाथ पी लेते हैं, तो उनका यहाँ पे गले में अटकता है, उनको नीलकंठ का नाम मिलता है. फिर लक्ष्मी आती है और अंत में आता है अमृत. नाउ फ्रॉम दिस एंटायर स्टोरी ना, आई गॉट वन क्लैरिटी इन माई लाइफ फॉर एवर. और क्लैरिटी मुझे ये मिली कि अमृत जो है वो जहर के बाद ही मिलता है. जहर को पहले पीना पड़ता है, जहर के बाद लक्ष्मी आएगी. सो आफ्टर माई स्ट्रगल, आफ्टर एवरीथिंग, आई विल स्टार्ट गेटिंग मनी. But if I get complacent, if I start settling down, I will not get that amrit. So what do you want? You want money or you want that amrit? So don't stop. Focus. Don't defocus from excellence. So that has been one of my biggest learning from Samudra Manthan.
Right. It makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, people don't realize that, as you rightly pointed out. But yeah, that is how it is. And my subsequent question to that is very similar to that. In this time and age, where all of us are working so hard to follow, to have followers, and to be the leaders ourselves, but we miss out. But we come to know that person with followers, we need to have a true and a great leader as well.
True. So I'll tell you, इसमें there's a very short conversation I would like to share. In Ramayana क्या होता है कि जब राम जी अयोध्या आते हैं सीता मैया को लेके, रावण को मार के, सब कुछ होता है, एवरीथिंग इज वेरी नाइस एंड ऑल, तो हनुमान जी बैठे होते हैं राम जी के कदमों में और राम जी को कहते हैं कि पता है प्रभु, आपसे ज्यादा बलवान कोई है, you know, there's someone stronger than you. And now Ramji is thinking, I just killed Ravan, you know. And so he's like, Con. It's not out of insecurity, but out of inquisitiveness, you know, because he just wants to know who's stronger than me. तो हनुमान से आप सोचो आपसे ज्यादा अधिक बल किसमें है. तो राम जी इज लाइक, यू नो, हनुमान, आई कैन थिंक ऑफ एनीवन, आप ही बता दो मुझसे ज्यादा बलवान कौन. तो हनुमान सेज, आपका नाम, आपके नाम में आपसे ज्यादा शक्ति है. तो राम जी इज लाइक, हाउ इज इट पॉसिबल हनुमान, शक्ति मुझ में है ना, अगर मैं राम हूं मुझ में शक्ति है, मेरे नाम मुझसे ज्यादा कैसे बलवान हुआ, मेरा नाम मुझसे ज्यादा बलवान कैसे हुआ. तो हनुमान सेज, देखिए, जब मुझे जाना था लंका मैंने कहा जय श्री राम और मैंने छलांग लगा दी. जब आपको जाना था लंका आपको पूरी नदी में जाके सेतु बनाना पड़ा. अब बताओ कौन ज्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग. तो राम जी laughs and hugs Hanuman and says, जैसा तुम कहो. So, but the fact is, over here, if you see, it's such a small, conversation that Hanumanji had with Lord Rama. But what a brilliant insight, at least for me. Look at the confidence of the subordinate. Look at the confidence of the follower. That I am going to take a leap of faith. I am going to a territory which I have never visited. I'm not even sure, actually, genuinely how far it is. I am jumping. Okay, but I trust you. I know if anything goes wrong, you will take care of me. I know anything goes wrong, you will take care of me. So that is, the learning that I could derive. So what happens is, over here, I was taking a session and for a corporate, and there were like 400 people sitting, and it was on Ramayana, and it was a motivational session, and everyone got pumped up and all. And the person who hired me, their business head, he came on stage, closing ceremony, man. He told me, and he was addressing the crowd, and he said, इसके बाद मैं एक चीज समझ गया हूं कि हनुमान चाहिए है, हनुमान चाहिए है, मैं ये वो इंडस्ट्री बदल दूंगा, मैं सब कुछ बदल दूंगा, मुझे एक हनुमान चाहिए, मुझे बताओ कौन बनेगा मेरा हनुमान. एंड टिपिकली इन मोटिवेशन सेशन, सो एंटायर क्राउड ओवर देयर, मैं हनुमान, मैं हनुमान, मैं हनुमान. सो दे ऑल गॉट पम्प्ड अप एंड ऑल, एंड देयर वाज अपलॉज एंड इट गॉट क्लोज. सो द बिजनेस हेड इज टेलिंग मी लेटर, वी वर गेटिंग ऑफ स्टेज. He said, Rishi, you have been coming to our company for last 3-4 years now, and you have interacted with almost all the key stakeholders. तुमको क्या लगता है इसमें हनुमान कौन बन सकता है? तो बोला, सर, can I tell you something, but you will not get upset, you have to give me a commitment first. आपको अब बुरा नहीं मानना. बोलता नहीं बोलो. बोला, सर, I understood like this. I said, sir, सबको हनुमान चाहिए, बट हनुमान सिर्फ राम को मिलता है. जिस दिन आप राम बन जाओगे, हनुमान अपने आप आ जाएगा. सर, आप रामायण में एक चीज भूल गए कि ऋषिमुख माउंटेन पे हनुमान जी ने राम जी को ढूंढा था, राम जी ने हनुमान जी को नहीं ढूंढा था. तो जिस दिन आप राम बन जाओगे ना सर, हनुमान अपने आप आ जाएगा, आपको ढूंढने की जरूरत नहीं है. सो द पॉइंट इज, everyone wants a great follower, but we are not ready to become a great leader, and I think that is the catch over there. So let's focus internally to grow externally.
Well said. So very well said.
Thank you.
Somewhere, correct me if I'm wrong, somewhere isn't it true that, however modern we get, but eventually whatever history has written or whatever we see in history, it always comes back to us in some or the other form.
Correct. So what happened, Roman, I genuinely believe our ancestors were brilliant. They were genius. What had happened? See, there was no pen drive, there was no cloud, there was no data storage, there was nothing at that time. So the learnings have come to us in a story format. And I'm sure you will agree that all of us, remember stories and examples rather than technical points, And these stories are there so that we can learn from those stories and hopefully don't repeat the mistakes. We look at those stories and get a roadmap or get some direction. What do we do? Because everything is covered. I do not, honestly, when I deep dived, I really have not come across a situation. Basically, it could be behavioral or which has not happened in the past. It could be say your lockdown also. Lockdown has also happened in our books. Everything has happened in our books, but when you read, then you come to know how to handle that situation. So yeah, I think history repeats itself, but in some other format, in some other place, but it does repeat.
So true. I mean, don't feel like ending this conversation, but every good thing has to come to an end, right?
Yeah.
Let me take this moment to thank you for giving your time and your valuable inputs and insight.
Thank you. Entirely my pleasure.
Entirely my pleasure. I mean, it's such a great pleasure and honor to have a conversation with you. But as I rightly said, I don't want to end it, but it has to come to an end. So, our dear viewers, all the details regarding Rishi Nanda are mentioned above in the post. And about heroes and this wonderful community, you can get in sync. You can come to our page and you can like and you can subscribe and you can follow us on this wonderful initiative which has been initiated by Niyati. Thank you all, for taking this time and being with us on this Sunday evening. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much once again. And thank you once again, Rishi, for this wonderful
My
insight
pleasure. Thank you so much.
about our history. Thank you.
Thank you, Roman. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Roman. Thank you, heroes. Thank you, Niyati. Thank you so much for the platform. So good to all the best. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you.